This episode of RSR is brought to you by Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, Grace Design, and Picker. These are tools that I use every day in my studio, from the Spectra 1964 STX 600 and Native Instruments Complete 15 to Isotope Ozone and RX, Atom Audio monitoring and headphones, and the central hub for my studio, the Grace Design M701 audio interface. Check out my studio profile on the Picker app on iPhone or Android and follow the sponsor links in the show notes. Grab my free mixing course at mixmasterbundle.com and remember to like this video and subscribe on YouTube because it's a great way to help support this show. Now, get ready to rock. So when you collaborate with people, what's a first conversation? Is it like, hey, this is a
No, but that's a great point though, because like communication early on in the process can be really helpful and help sort of like mitigate some problems down the road. So I think, and especially in that capacity, just reaching out to someone to be like, hey, like, are you interested in this? I know we're friends, but you don't have to work on this if you don't want to. Do you have time? And I really appreciate if someone says, no, actually, I don't have time. Because I want them to be taking care of themselves as well. So yeah, I'll say like, hey, would you be interested in this? And I try and always just be as like transparent and clear as possible. So if I'm initiating something, I'm gonna put in that first text or phone call my proposal for what it is.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Rockstars, if you want fresh song ideas, Complete 15 from Native Instruments has the tools to kickstart your creativity. With Contact 8's Chords tool, you can generate and customize chord progressions instantly for songwriting. And the Phrases tool gives you ready-to-go melodic inspiration right at your fingertips. With 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds, Complete 15 helps you turn blank pages into music. Pair that with a Complete Control keyboard or machine hardware for seamless integration and hands-on control. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. It's your host, Lid Shaw. Welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Josh Frigo, a producer, mixer, multi-instrumentalist, and artist based right here in Nashville, Tennessee, who believes in putting artists and their ideas first. After several years as a touring utility player, Josh shifted his focus full-time to production and mixing, building a creative career shaped by self-learning, collaboration, and curiosity. Working across pop, singer-songwriter, and alternative genres, he's produced and developed indie artists such as MisterMoon, Sparkbird, and Phùng Khanh Linh, which hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Pretty good.
And co-mixed Atmos projects for Niall Horan, NF, and Bo Staloch. Or Staloch? How is it pronounced?
It's Staloch, actually.
Staloch. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Right on. It's good to have the reference right here in the studio. Yeah. And more with his mixing partner, Alex Dobbert, at Movement Mixing. Mm-hmm. A big thank you to Andy Freeman for making today's introduction. Please
thank you,
welcome
Andy.
Josh Frigo to Recording Studio Rockstars. Josh, welcome, dude. Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready.
Glad to have you here on the show, man. It's always a pleasure. And I think we only got to, kind of meet pretty recently, right? Didn't we?
Yeah, just at the engineer's lunch and just for a few minutes because I was running late.
Yeah. So. That's a really, really great resource for us here. Just this ability to get together with people in our town, connect,
and
nerd out on studios. Although, does there seem to be like some sort of unwritten rule that like, what do you talk about when you sit down at those things?
Right. It's sort of like you're not allowed to talk about engineering or what you're working on.
But that's what you're there for,
right? But you
want
to talk about it sometimes. But yeah, it was, and yeah, thanks again to Andy, who I just met him recently at like a producer hang thing, and instantly could tell this is a dude who just like loves making records.
Yeah,
and so
totally.
We just sort of clocked each other across the room and was like, I got to talk to you.
He's a good dude, man. I've known him for a number of years. He's been on the podcast as well. And back in 2020, when I was doing that whole fight to save home studios effort,
which I'm sure you're tired of hearing at this point, but as another person who has a home studio in Nashville, owe you a debt of gratitude. So thank you.
Bring that fist bump. Sorry, watch back there. Watch back there. It's a booby trap. It's a booby trap. This is great, man. This is like live TV. It's awesome. By the way, that right there is well, you know what? You got to put it where the one leg is sticking out in front, and that'll keep it up. So that right there is the Roswell Pro Audio cab mic.
There you go.
It's a cool new one that I got recently, and it's so awesome sounding. You just put it dead center on the cone.
Yeah.
Like 6 inches away, and it's designed where like no more like searching around for your placement for your sound, and then it's just
and
great.
Also as we've proved here, drop resistant too.
Pretty. I hope so. I've dropped a couple of those, and I've learned that sometimes with the if you don't damage don't drop your mics, but if you don't damage the capsule, a lot of times it's just the metal grill. It gets a little bent, and you can kind of get inside there and straighten them out.
Yeah.
But we digress. So, so when we were doing the home studio effort in 2020, I was kind of flying solo on a lot of that stuff in terms of like, my court battle and, kind of fighting for my studio, but also out there like fighting for everybody. And Andy and Mark Rubel got together and surprised the hell out of me, and they just created a whole GoFundMe.
Wow.
Just as a thank you. And I was like,
that's amazing.
I was so touched. I was so honored.
Yeah. I'm so sad to say I never got a chance to meet Mark, but I'm glad that like Andy's continuing organizing those lunches.
Yeah.
Because it seems like such a great opportunity, especially because as engineers, we don't get to necessarily like interact with each other. I mean, I'm really a producer first.
Yeah.
But that opportunity to just commiserate with colleagues and not just like at a convention or something, not at AES.
Totally.
Is always great.
Yeah. I love the conferences. I go to NAMM and I'm going to AES this fall, which is actually in California.
Yeah, I saw that.
But and this will come out later anyway, but it's really fun to just go to those high energy things, but it is high energy. So it's like, you're kind of in go mode the whole time. You start a conversation. It's sort of funny how you can, I guess it depends on where you're at and who you're talking to and personalities, but sometimes it feels like you start a conversation and then it's the moment you start it, you're immediately trying to peel yourself away from it because you don't want to get pinned down because there's like 100 conversations you need to go have or something like that.
Yeah, you never get as much time with somebody as you want there.
Yeah.
Which is why, especially, like, I went to AES in New York last year, and getting, like, especially after the convention in the evenings, getting the chance to go sit with people was really cool. So. Yeah.
New York one was really fun. I like the New York one a lot.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what it's like in California. But I feel like, I already go here for NAMM. I like going to the East Coast for once a year too.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, groovy. So give us a little intro in your own words, man. You, just give us the arc for you of like getting interested in music to, finding yourself now. I think you might have, did you arrive in Nashville in 2012 or something like that, right? So now after more than a decade, you've established a lot of, your workflow and your skill set and your connections and all that kind of stuff. But, like that kind of arc from interest to professional stuff. I mean, you've got a lot of experience with the touring, with the playing, producing, but also pretty exciting. You've created a whole Atmos setup for yourself. You've got experience with that now too. And you know, I don't want to tell your story for you.
Yeah, no.
But we have Josh's playlists, both Spotify and Apple Music, so you can hear, you know, music and production, but you can also hear Atmos mixes in the show notes, Rockstar. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
And we'll talk maybe a little bit more about, like,
I would love to.
Just about that, and like, how do you? Because a lot of people are still like, how do you experience Atmos? I don't have Atmos, and you're like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. You probably do.
I know you do.
And you've probably heard it and just don't know that you've heard it.
Yeah, I can explain to everybody how they can, you know, simple pair of headphones.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't know if you have to be subscribed to Apple Music. I think you can listen some on a free plan too, but
yeah. And
check that.
Tidal's got Dolby as well, so you could do it on Tidal.
Yeah.
We were sort of hoping that with the new Spotify upgrade that just came out, they'd do some spatial, but I think that's still in the future.
They're probably taking their sweet time to get there.
Can you believe that? Well, I guess I'll go back to the start. I mean, it's definitely like music is something that's in the family. So my grandmother was my piano teacher growing up, and like all her kids, my dad, everyone played music. Big Italian Catholic family. So when everyone like gets together, it's like people. My uncle will bring choral music and everybody sings and someone sits down at the piano and plays. And I had like, you know, an aunt who kind of did stuff semi-professionally as an opera singer. My grandmother taught piano professionally. And then I have like a cousin who's out in New York who's a, you know, full-time professional musician. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something that even though it's maybe not the family profession, it's the family tradition. So we got started young. So I started taking, you know, piano lessons when I was 5. And then at some point, my dad knew that I would be interested in like guitar and rock music, but he couldn't convince me. So he bought my sister, who's a year younger than me, he bought her a guitar. And then I was like, well, wait a second. If she gets a guitar, I gotta have a guitar too. We were very competitive.
Did you go for a nylon string or a steel string?
So he bought an electric guitar. It was like one of those Yamaha electric guitar starter kits that comes with like a little amp, and but it was great. Yeah. So fun. And so he bought that for her, and instantly I was like, well, I gotta try that. And then as soon as I picked it up, I was just like hooked right away. And at some point too, probably when I was 11, he got me like a Tascam hard disk recorder. And
nice. Yeah. It's always fascinating to me too, because you're a younger generation. Yeah. So like hearing your description of the details of what pieces of gear you start out with growing up, it's really the same journey as for me, you know, it was just a 4-track tape or something like that. But really it's the same concept, right?
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Just like a little portable all-in-one kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. And just like would instantly start trying to make songs on there and was, you know, terrible at it, but had so much fun doing it. And then when we switched to like an Apple computer at home and had GarageBand, all of a sudden it was like sky's the limit. Now,
when you were starting out songs, were you writing lyrics and words?
Yeah.
So what do you remember as like the dumbest first lyrics
you did? Oh my gosh. I think I remember as a kid like listening to country music and being like, well, we got to write a song about peaches or something like that. You know, it's like, I want to say probably had some like George Strait playing or something like that. And I was like, and we're from, you know, we're not from the South, we're up north. But so in my mind, country music was about stuff like peaches. You know?
Right. Well, I mean, I think about you know, growing up in New England too, and like New York's fascination with country music. Right. Well, New York has a fascination with everything because it's New York.
Yeah.
New York is a funny place. It's like, it's everything, but it's also nothing.
Yeah.
Because New York's everything is that every part of the world and culture is represented there.
Yeah.
So in other words, in a way, it's like a telescope looking out at culture of the world. But in another way, it's totally internal culture, you know?
Right, it's its own thing.
Yeah, but so like in the way that New England or New York would look down at country music and say like, oh, that's interesting, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, even the earliest country recordings and like, you know, hillbilly music and stuff like that, weren't those like, you know, New York labels that were pressing those records and
that
stuff?
Could be like with the Carter family stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember the details on that. So Rockstars, if you know the answer to that, drop a comment into the video here. But then like in reverse, right, too, then you have like Southern hip hop that maybe is, I'd be curious if Southern hip hop would say, and I'll even ask a future guest here that I'm going to do next, but, was it looking to New York for influence and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, you could imagine, that's not necessarily like a genre that I'm an expert in, but you can imagine that like, folks like Outkast, they're probably the closest like major hub is New York. So they're probably internalizing at least some bit of that sound.
Well, Atlanta, of course, is known for a huge sound, but again, it must, it's a combination. Even Fame Studios and like Rick Hall down in Muscle Shoals, he'd have a song and a single, and then he'd just fly to New York to go, like find opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting the way all these things cross.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was it was definitely my best attempt, but not a great attempt at that sort of thing.
So writing about Peaches, mine would have been like, in the back with a little Panasonic cassette recorder in the back of the bouncing around on a mattress in the pickup truck as we drive cross country in the summers.
Wow.
And and like writing a song about like, I'm waiting for you on track 9, or something like that. Dropping in a boulevard somewhere if I could,
Love that. Where were you guys? Like you were doing cross country trips?
Oh yeah. We were in New England, but we would go to Lake Michigan every summer.
Oh really? Okay.
So I go up to Door County, Wisconsin.
Okay. So my dad's from Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
And I'm from Northwest Indiana. So like grew up on Lake Michigan.
Oh yeah, I love it up there. Love it.
It's amazing.
I'm ready to go back. It's getting a little chilly up there now, I'm sure. But beautiful, leaves turning and all that.
It's amazing.
Oh, I'm dating the interview rock stars. Sorry about that. You'll get to hear this later.
Yeah.
So then you came to Nashville and started doing. Did you go to sort of study in music in school or anything like that?
I did. I went to a school in Indiana called Ball State, and they had a program called Music Technology at the time.
Dig it.
And so I did 4 years there. And at the end of 4 years, I was not done with my degree, but I was done being at school.
Right.
And so I was like, I just have to go somewhere. And a friend of mine had a record deal with like a Christian label here in the 90s. And he's like, let me take you to Nashville. I'll introduce you to like 2 people, and you can just go do that. So he drove me down. And on that trip, I met a roommate and like met a handful of people. And then a couple months later, made the trip down here. And so that was 13 years ago now. And around that time, there was a bunch of things sort of going on where I ended up finishing school remotely, just like some gen eds, which took me like probably 3 years to finish 3 classes because I was just like, I can't take another class.
Right.
But it was one of those things where it was very important to my family and my grandmother on my mother's side had been a college psychology professor.
And you probably haven't finished, Englishes and maths and
and it was one of those things I just had to get it done. But I didn't want I was burned out. But I got it done. But so around that time too, I'd had one of those sort of unique experiences where I'd been putting out music as an artist and just kind of put it up on the internet, and it wound up on the desk of an A&R person at Interscope. And then there was like, some back and forth and talks of a deal and all this stuff.
And what year is that?
This is in 2012.
Okay, cool, man.
So, yeah, that was another sort of, I always joke with me and my friends like Alex, who I run movement mixing with. We made a great choice in entering the music business at the literal nadir of music business profits.
Nadir meaning like
the lowest
like
point. The lowest point.
Yeah.
If you look at like if you've ever seen those graphs of like revenue per year,
right,
for like literally that time when we enter, it's just like the industry is bottomed out.
Right.
So it was a scrappy time for sure.
Well, it's a funny thing. I mean, I felt. I mean, the 90s were still booming when I entered. Yeah. But I felt like I went and learned a profession and entered a world that was in decline.
Right.
So
right.
In a way, everybody you talk to has always talked about that decline.
Yeah.
The whole time, and it's fascinating to hear you bring it up too. And in another way, I don't know if it is similar to, investment markets, but a great time to enter is at the nadir. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then as it grows,
It grows.
you're in a good spot, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's been amazing to sort of get to see that that change over the last couple decades.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up moving here. That deal eventually sort of just fell apart, and so I just needed to work.
Really,
and,
you don't say a record deal that fell?
Yeah,
apart?
right. And so initially, I was here. I actually lived in Franklin my first year, and so I was waiting tables at the Cracker Barrel off Exit 65 down there. Never got. I don't think I even got like a star or whatever it is that they do. And
they didn't even send you home with like a stuffed green frog from
I was
the
not
gift
a good
shop or something like that. You know,
I was not a good server, but they were very nice.
Like a nice smelling candle.
No, which is a shame because
they
have so much stuff.
Nice, actually.
Yeah, you'd think that they could just give you one of them, but no. But very nice folks, but I was a terrible employee. I mean, it was nice, but I just like. I wasn't suited for the work. It's hard. It's like really hard.
Really? Yeah. I used to love going there for breakfast and stuff. And I also learned early on I was not a great waiter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I've probably worked, 100 different jobs at this point, and waiting was by far the hardest for sure. But yeah, so I'm living down in Franklin, waiting tables at the Cracker Barrel, and just needed to work. And so I started playing for touring artists and MDing for folks, and just sort of like jumping around wherever I was needed.
What's MDing again?
Music directing.
Music directing, that's right. So, and what does that mean to you in your world? Yeah,
so it was a lot of like running rehearsals at a smaller artist like I was playing with. You'd probably do more than you would with a larger artist. So it also means like putting together set lists, putting together arrangements, running rehearsals, helping with like live setup for touring stuff, if we're using tracks or whatever, building tracks. So it was a lot of that sort of thing, and it was really fun.
Rock stars, if you want your mixes and masters to translate everywhere, iZotope Ozone 12 gives you the tools to finish with confidence. The new bass control helps you see and balance your low end and punch. Unlimiter brings back life to overcompressed tracks, and Stem EQ lets you rebalance vocals, drums, or bass using only the stereo mix file. And when it's time to get loud, Ozone's new IRC Maximizer gives powerful, clean masters without distortion. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. So in other words, it's like band leader.
Yep.
Really, right?
Yeah.
It's band leader in situations where the band leader, not in the same way that you form your own band and the band leader is like, this is the kind of song we're going to do. Band leader in terms of like, here's the music we're doing with this artist.
Yes.
Somebody has to organize it and get everybody on the same page and make decisions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was great. And I did that for years with a bunch of different folks, and loved it. And so that's why I spent my first 7 years kind of doing that as a utility player. So I don't play any one thing like masterfully, but I can sort of jump around on a bunch of different things, which worked well in that role because we'd have a lead guitarist and drums and bass, and then I could cover a rhythm part or a key part or aux percussion or sing a backing vocal or something.
Yeah.
And so spent 7 years doing that, but the whole time had been making records for myself and for friends. And that was always sort of like the thing that I was stoked about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me see here. I'm going to scoot that stand behind you. Hang tight.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't do edits on this, but what I do is I have a marker system. I can just drop a marker.
Sweet.
And I know exactly where to go. Yeah, this whole setup's always tricky. It's like, how does everything need to be?
You can move it as far as you want. I'll find a way to knock it over still.
You're trapped in there. All right, groovy.
So
let me ask you this question. So, so what are some of the things that, like, if somebody's curious about organizing a band or music directing too, like, what would be some tips about how that works?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is being curious, being flexible, being excited about the music, making sure that like you're taking care of the artist and that their vision's being represented, and keeping sort of morale up, make sure everyone's having fun, because it's
A lot
sort
of
of
listening.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's a lot of, you're wearing a bunch of different hats, which is the fun part about it. So I think if it's something that you're interested in, being willing to be flexible and go where you're needed is sort of the biggest thing. And not
Because
just
you're
be there.
touring too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that flexibility is really helpful. But did that for years and was making records for myself. And at some point, like probably 6 years ago now, was kind of able to just make the leap and stop touring and just make records for people.
Yeah, so let me ask you about the flexibility thing, because that's so crucial, I think. I remember it in starting out. And maybe you want to pass along some knowledge to anybody who is there. Because when you get into this world, I remember realizing if I wanted to do studio stuff, I had to be able to say yes to anybody at any moment. Like, if somebody says, I got a gig, can you do it? Your answer has to be yes, or else you just don't get to do the gig and you don't get to launch that part of the career, So for me, it was like, job stuff that almost never tied you down, never joining a club team where like you had a schedule of games or something like that.
Yeah. That can be a part of it. I think especially if you're like a musician for hire working for other folks, being available is super important. Yeah. I definitely, I feel like my philosophy on that has changed over the years, because I think similarly starting out, I would have said like to be as available as possible. But I do think that there's a part of this job that is like this is a marathon and not a sprint.
Right.
And everyone who I've seen who's successful at it, not just like from a business perspective, but who's just like good people who I like spending time with,
right,
are all folks who have invested in other people and invested their time and have some roots in a sense. Obviously, like we all have to be flexible in our calendars. Our schedules work different than maybe a different job. But if for someone who's starting out, I wouldn't necessarily say like you do need to be available, but I also think you should be rooted in whatever community you're in, right? Because that's going to be the thing that lets you keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're touring, right? If you're leaving a lot, it's that balance between building your network in that kind of touring world versus building it in the local studio world.
Right.
That was a bit of a grapple with a place like Nashville anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was one of the things like that transition for me took time. It wasn't something that I could just do right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, by doing it just enough and just keep staying excited about it and doing it over and over again, eventually was able to sort of bridge the gap.
So let's jump forward to the kind of routine you got now. You've got a studio of your own. Mm-hmm. You're also collaborating. So talk about how that whole balance works for you and what your sort of daily lifestyle looks like these days.
It's different every day.
Sometimes you're doing a podcast.
Right, that's right. It always starts the same, which is waking up in the morning and feeding our dog Phoebe, which is a great way to start the day. And she's on time.
Your dog's name is Feed Me?
Phoebe. It could be Feed Me. Every time that we give her breakfast and dinner, it's like she's never eaten before.
All right.
So it does. It starts the same way every day. But yeah, I sort of wear the different things I do these days is I produce, I mix for other folks, and I also mix Atmos. Mm-hmm. Those three things tend to be a little bit separated. I'd say primarily what I'm doing is producing music for other people. So most days that might mean an artist coming over, and I work out of a small home studio about this size, basically.
Right on.
And
Rockstars, we're in a pretty small room.
Yeah, it's an 11 by 11 square, the worst possible shape for a recording studio.
It looks bigger than that. It's through the trickery of
right.
The magic of TV.
That's right. So We make that work, but we do, all our overdubs there, vocals and guitars, and then we'll go out somewhere for other stuff like drums.
Yeah, so you'll go do a tracking somewhere and then come bring stuff back.
Yeah.
What's that like? How do you enjoy the experience of being somewhere else and then bringing it back to your studio? And what kind of things have you learned about, like, ways to do that right, ways to, like, watch out for this, don't fuck this up, you know, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you're in a new environment like that, I think, coming like with a little bit of prep just for like the fundamental things you're going to need is going to be great, so that you can go into a space maybe that you're not familiar with and deal with whatever issues are going to arise there and have those things sort of taken care of, whether that's just like, you know the song, you've got the charts ready, you know what you want to accomplish that day. But I love doing that, especially because you can go into a new space, maybe do something that you wouldn't have done elsewhere, be a little bit creative.
Do you bring your own headphones or anything, like a familiar reference?
Yeah, I'll bring, not necessarily for reference, just to make sure that there's enough headphones. So I'll bring like a headphone extender and splitters and a couple sets of headphones. Most of the time that's not needed, but in the one time that you do need it, it's like very helpful. Yeah. And paper and pens and whatever for people to make notes. It tends to be like the really basic stuff. And then occasionally, if needed, I'll bring like a favorite thing, like a microphone or whatever. But
I remember doing sessions where I brought microphones and even brought my strobe tuner, because I was like, I want to make sure we can get those guitars really in tune.
Yeah, and these days I tend to do less of that, because I'm more I try and stay more focused, less on like a specific piece of gear or whatever, and just like having an interaction with somebody, and making sure everyone's having fun. So.
Okay, groovy. And then what about coming back from the studio to your home studio? Yeah. What tricks did you learn about, like, I mean, because I know in my experience there would be times where you're like, oh my God, we forgot to, you don't want to forget some detail, or like, you're afraid, you're like, oh, I mean, there were times where like, how are we going to change the ending of this song?
Right.
We didn't end it right, or just these details.
Oh my gosh. That has definitely happened. We've had a few, sometimes you have to do some studio magic to make that work. I've definitely flown the end of a chorus that is going to like a down turn, and then flown that to the end of the song and done a fade out, So that's definitely happened. But we tried not to do that. I would say, as someone who is like notoriously disorganized, I sort of live and die by like having notes available to me. On my studio desk at home, I just have like a little whiteboard. Have you seen those desktop whiteboards?
Not necessarily. No. What does it look like?
It's just like a whiteboard, but it's got the shape kind of like a keyboard or something, and you can just write on it. And for me, if it's not like written down, staring at me all day, I'll just forget. So
it's on your right where your keyboard for your computer would go. There's actually
I got my keyboard and then that whiteboard right behind it.
Right behind it. This is like the same shape as a keyboard. It's just a dry erase board.
Just a dry erase board.
So you can just take notes all day.
And honestly, like that is probably like, if I had to pick like one of my favorite piece of gear or whatever in the studio, it'd probably be that or something like that. Because it just like, it makes my day so much better. And also for something like a session where I'm like prepping, I can just like write stuff down. Remember, I would do this.
I did, when I first built this as an office space with my last one, I painted a whole wall with dry erase paint. My brother had the idea. Well, I thought it was going to be smart, and then I used it once, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. But I think it was because I put the cart before the horse.
Right.
This didn't end up being the space where I needed a dry erase board.
Yeah.
Now, down in the studio, like behind the client couch, that one bit of wall there, which I think is fabric now. But like if there was a wall somewhere, like that might be a great place for it, where you're like hanging out thinking about the record, and you can just write notes down.
Yeah.
But again, that also sort of applies if that note carries over to the next day. Otherwise, it's getting erased a lot, right?
Yeah.
If you got a new client in tomorrow.
That's right. And you're doing a million different things. How are you keeping track of like recording something and doing a podcast and doing video?
Well, I do. I rely on the calendar a lot, and then I struggle with I'm looking at Google Docs and Notes for this kind of stuff, but I use the Apple Notes a lot more now because that one's just sort of already on my phone. I don't have to go hunt for it through an app.
Yeah.
I mean, you do kind of, but somehow I felt like, okay, this is at least going to be there. And I think it's at least a little more private, you know?
Yeah.
But I will share this about Apple stuff. Apple Cloud, Apple Notes, know this, rock stars. It's great that it's on your phone and you don't need the internet to use it, but it's slow as shit to sync to the other computers.
It really is.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in a write with somebody and you do like the note collaboration,
it's like
it takes forever.
terrible.
It takes forever.
So it's not a good one. And the iCloud is like the slowest of all. Like if you download a video to it or something, you're like, oh great, it's on my computer now, and you're like, and then like an hour later, it's still not there. So, whereas like the Googles or the Dropboxes are much faster for that. But then those break when they interact with your phone, like a Dropbox.
Right.
If you tried to, like forever, if you shot a long video on your phone and then you're like, great, I'm going to move this to Dropbox, it would fail.
Yeah.
So just a lot of nerdy things like that. So So I guess the answer to your question is, I think it's a balancing act of all these different tools that you use. So in the end, it's like your brain has to remember like which one you're using.
Yeah, a little bit. I think, especially so, like specifically talking about that transition from like going out, coming back to the home studio.
Yeah.
I think again, maybe, and not to overuse it, but that sort of like being open, being flexible, being in the moment when you're at that studio, and just like making sure that like we're chasing something and that we're being creative and trying something and taking risks. And then I can come back and at home base, I kind of know what everything's supposed to sound like. Yeah. And if I need to fix something, I can fix something. If something went really wrong and we need to re-record, like we'll go re-record, you know?
Right. Well, it's easier to, I mean, there's more ways to change things now, manipulate things. I mean, even with stem separation, you can do magic tricks that you couldn't used to do.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
But you know, it wasn't always like that, you know. Sometimes it would have been a lot harder to make a change.
Oh, absolutely.
But I will say this, so and partly to answer your question, if you're in a group setting and in like a group business or something like that, then you might practice the idea of like weekly or daily office meetings. You know, you sort of like get everybody, put your heads together and trade notes. Yeah. But so much of what we do is by, you know, we're solo, flying solo. So what I do sometimes is when I finish a hard thing, I do a debrief to myself. I'll just use a voice memo or a video, and I'll, you know, it's kind of like doing a recall note with a video or a voice memo. I'll just verbally say everything I can remember about how that worked. And then of course you have to remember, where did I put that voice memo? Yeah. But then at least that's, you know, that's your thing you have to keep track of. Yeah. Because so much of what I might do is I might have to solve a really complex puzzle. Even for this interview, you know, you saw me, I had 2 computers, right?
You did a great job. Good job.
Well, thank you. But you know, the point being like, after you set that up, then you're like, got that? Solve that, you know. Right. But you might put it away and then switch to a totally different thing tomorrow and for the next week. And you might not have to come back and do this for 6 months. Yeah. And then it's like, well, how am I going to remember what I did 6 months ago? So like having a system where you can just take a video or an audio note to yourself. Super helpful. And then come back and look at it later. That's smart. And YouTube. You can even, you know, if you've got a Google account, you can upload a video that's essentially private to YouTube and just keep it unlisted or private. I
want to go find the Lidge secret YouTube.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not doing anything too personal. But I mean, like, you know, inside the business kind of content. Yeah. You know, don't put up your password or something. Sure. But you can put up information there and then, you know, versus thinking of it as a public outlet. And then it's just, you know, library of shit.
Right. Yeah, don't have to pay for the storage. It just lives up there.
Yeah, we used to do that for my intern program.
Really?
I'd have interns. As I was teaching them things, I was like, why don't I make training videos?
Right.
So then in the end, it became, and I've said this on the show before, but although it's been a while, but it became a system where I would, if it was something that I needed to show that was new, I'd show it to the new intern, and their job was to actually take the video of me showing it to them.
Got it.
And then they also had to upload it to the channel and give it a title and a description. So they learned it.
Very efficient.
But it went into our little library. And then with the next intern comes along, it's like, all right.
It's already ready to go.
If you're curious about interning here, here's this is like 20 hours of videos you got to go watch before you start.
Yeah.
You see if you really want to do it.
Right, right. Yeah, just jump right in with that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So tricks like that,
Yeah, yeah. And I try, at every stage of it, I try and keep it as simple as possible. Because it's like, at least for what I'm doing, it's like we're here just like trying to capture a song or an emotion or whatever. And so whatever I can do to get stuff out of the way to make that happen is the goal.
Yeah. Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. Okay, cool. So now you have an Atmos set up for mixing as well, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because I think I saw a picture. I don't know if I have it handy to show. I can attempt that, but it might take. Why don't you just start telling us about your Atmos experience while I slowly queue up something to share.
All right. So I got into Atmos through my friend and colleague, Alex Dobbert, who's a mastering engineer, super talented mastering engineer. He worked under Nathan Dantzler here in town for a while at HitLab, and then worked for Universal Music Group. And so he was sort of like early on when Atmos was coming out of Capital LA. We can see a little bit of the image there too of your Atmos room. Hopefully that's showing. I thought I could zoom in on it. Apparently it's not going to let me zoom today. Sorry, rock stars. Yeah,
wait, there we go. Like I said, sometimes you think you got control over technology, but your context got control over you.
Yeah, and you can see too. It's a small bedroom. It's not big.
Yeah, but but what's so cool about it is it's very impressive. It's like, man, you put Atmos in there, and then you got also a nice Elan 251 in the corner. It's like, okay, right next to the speaker, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Well, so that is I got a 714 rig. It's PMC Result 6s for my left rights and Genelec 3050Cs for everywhere else and 2 Genelec subs. But let me tell you, so when I moved into that room, I had a sort of weird transition where I'd been renting a studio on the west side, and it was like basically like a semi-commercial space. And I had told the person, I was like, hey, I want to do this Atmos thing, but you kind of got to do it based on the room. Would you be okay with that? And he was like, absolutely. And then a week later, some stuff happened. Shit hit the fan, and I had to move out of that studio. He was getting ready to sell it. So I had designed the Atmos array for that room, and I'd got the Cali LP8s or IN8s, I can't remember which one, but the 8-inch ones, right? And so I got that, I put the order in, I was like, you know what, let's just put the order in. I'll just, wherever I end up.
And what's the benefit of the 8-inch ones? Are they low profile or something like that?
I mean, for me, the biggest thing was I'd heard those in person, and I knew that they sounded good, and they're affordable. And so I was like, okay, I know that this works. I know it sounds good. I know that it's within my budget. Let's do that. And it takes so long for this stuff to happen anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to leave the order. Wherever I go, I'll just put that in the new room. Well, I end up in my house in an 11 by 11 bedroom, and I'm moving in, and I go, and this is now probably 4 weeks after I put the order in, and I go and I hang that first Cali 8-inch monitor, and it is enormous. I hang the first one and I step back and I'm like, oh my God, like this is not gonna work. What am I gonna do? And I just paid, like you get 11, however many speakers that you get.
You actually hanging it with one arm because you had to like sell one of your arms together,
right? It was so precarious. And I have the absolute nicest Sweetwater rep who I had to call and be like, Mark, I am so sorry. I know I'm technically past the return date. I cannot use these speakers.
Yeah.
And he was very generous and let me swap them out. And I moved to the Genelecs, which were smaller and fit in my space.
Amazing.
So thank you, Mark, for letting me do that.
Yeah, Genelecs are great speakers too.
They're really wonderful. And very just like, I feel like honest. I tend to be like, I really don't want hype out of a speaker for me. Right. I really love mean speakers. If I could just leave my NS10 set up for my mains, I probably would do that because they're just so brutal with you. Like they're not going to flatter anything you do at all. But so I got into Atmos because Alex was sort of early plugged in as that stuff was coming up, and he got into it and was just like, man, this is so fun. He and I have worked together for years. We went to college together. We played in a band together, and he's like, we should like do this together. And so we started movement mixing, and got an Atmos rig, and that's been such a fun experience. I mean, are you doing any Atmos stuff?
No. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah. I think maybe the most fun thing about it, honestly, is just the fact that it's kind of the Wild West right now.
Right.
And so there's no convention and there's no right way yet. And you get to watch all these folks who are your heroes and folks you've looked up to be figuring it out at the same time as you, and that's really fun to see.
Well, you're already doing great work with it. So, some of the questions I was prompted to point out, like the Niall Horan and John Legend track, which is in your playlist, stuff that was very noticeable. I mean, it's just an Atmos mix playing back. So, for example, my way to listen to that is in the AirPod Pros, and it's very simple. I mean, it's just like, unless you're getting the cheap AirPods, this is just the next level up. Rockstars, if you're not familiar with it, I mean, these would be the ones with the noise canceling in it. If you're like, oh, you should get the ones that are quiet on an airplane, then you got Atmos.
I love the noise canceling ones for when I mow my lawn. It's just like,
oh yeah, they're so much better. They're better than earplugs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they're better on an airplane than earplugs.
Yeah.
And you get to listen to music at the same time, but they give you that Atmos experience. And when you learn to know how to hear the difference between the stereo version or the Atmos mix in those same headphones, that's when the light bulb goes off and you're like, holy shit, this sounds way better.
It's really fun. And I think, I tend to be sort of format agnostic. And I'm just like, how do we use whatever we have to make us...
You're like, music is music.
Yeah, I'll work in mono, I'll work in stereo, I'll work in, quadraphonic, I'll work in stuff, whatever it is.
Probably don't work in quadraphonic.
Okay, well,
just giving you a little pro tip.
Yeah. I think we can bring it back if we really try. I'm happy to work in whatever the medium is, as long as we're having fun with it and making us feel something. And it's really I remember when the room finally got done and I sat my wife down and played her one of her favorite records in Atmos, and it just surrounds you, and she cried at it. She's like, this is amazing, getting to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
So it can be really fun. And we've been really fortunate. We have a relationship with Universal, which has allowed us to do some of these things, like the Niall Horan track. Pulling up John Legend's vocal on a fader is the craziest. Right. Because it's oh yeah, he just sounds like that. That's just how he sounds. He just sounds great. And it's a lot of fun. I think for us, our philosophy for this stuff is definitely a do no harm kind of thing. Right. Because of where Atmos tends to fall in the process for album cycle things. We are typically at the tail end, and a lot of creative decisions have already been made.
So you have to respect those decisions.
Yeah, and so unless we have some direct line of communication to the artist or the producer or something, and they're comfortable with us trying something or pushing the boundaries.
You don't necessarily get to do a Rocket Man spaceship flying over the top of of your head.
We might do that because that is pretty fun.
That is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, so like on that track, for example, the John Legend track, the notes I wrote down, like the BGVs, you get to put them way out on the sides. And the verb is very lush, and I think there's more for us to talk about that in your world too. In terms of like, I think one of your notes was related to setting up sample packs and stuff.
Oh yeah,
so we can get to that. But but like that, just even positioning existing elements like vocals, background vocals, just these simple things. Doing it in the Atmos setup can make it sound so spacious, when it's done well.
Yeah, and I think too, if you're working in stereo, I think the same like fundamental things you've learned work in Atmos, right? And it's the same thing in mono too, right? Like we're trying to make the chorus feel bigger, we're trying to make it feel broader, maybe something to feel deeper or brighter, whatever it is. And now we just do that across more speakers.
It's like you get to take it to a stage now.
Yeah.
Or something,
Yeah. And all the same things that you probably would do, like I'll do the same thing. I'll walk around the room or leave the room to check a mix and make sure that it still feels like a mix wherever you are.
Even with an Atmos playback. Even with all those speakers going in a room, you'll still walk out of the room and sort of see if it feels balanced.
Yes, absolutely. I think like I am very particular about not wanting stuff to feel like, oh, this element lives in the speaker, and so this is the guitar speaker, and this is the I want it to feel like a song, and so if I walk around the room, I want it to feel like a song from every position in the room.
Do you feel like that thinking you've found that your thinking is supported by the community in the Atmos too, or is it really so Wild West that you sort of make up your own?
It's too new, I think, and there's a lot of different approaches, and it's exciting to see everybody trying this stuff. Like one of my favorite records for Atmos is the Brittany Howard What Now record, which is, the record itself is unbelievable. And she's here in Nashville. She's incredibly talented, part of Alabama Shakes.
Right.
I believe Bob Clearmountain did the Atmos mix for that record.
Oh, cool.
And like Bob will put, I don't know, Bob, but he'll put like the lead vocal in the center channel, which for some folks is like a huge no-no. But on that record, it sounds fucking awesome.
Right.
It sounds so good. He knows how to do it. So there's, I think it's a really fun moment where people are trying stuff. And it's probably like, early days of stereo where it's like, let's put the drums in the left channel. Like all drums go all left channel.
Right.
And we're going to put the bass all right channel with the percussion.
Yeah.
Which, maybe fell out of fashion, but then you go back and listen to it and you're like, that's actually kind of cool.
Right, totally cool.
That's actually pretty sweet. Maybe we should be putting the drums all left channel again.
There's at least a few recordings that come to mind. There's like, Beatles stuff doing that a little.
Yeah.
The Meters doing that. And then, I forgot the name of it.
You go back to like
doing the Tighten Up, I think wasn't that one that was done like that too?
Same thing with like, Beach Boys Pet Sound stuff. Like they're just putting shit all over the place.
Yeah.
They were having fun, and it's
that's
sort of
the crucial. Got to have fun in music, or else nobody wants to listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for probably how hard we work at this, obviously, like, you're doing music recording, you got your podcast and video stuff, like, and that's sort of what the industry demands is for us to like, we work probably longer hours than some folks, and the thing that lets you do it for a long time is having fun.
Yeah. Totally.
So yeah, it's really. We really love the process, and get a lot of joy from getting to like try some new stuff.
Hey, rock stars. Writing and recording your next great song just got a whole lot easier with Complete 15 from Native Instruments. This powerful toolkit gives you everything from deep sound design to instant musical ideas. Contact 8 introduces creative features like the new Chords tool, letting you generate and customize compelling chord progressions without needing to know music theory, making it perfect for songwriting. And the Phrases tool helps you find fresh melodic lines on the spot. With over 165 instruments and more than 150,000 sounds, Massive X, battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, you've got everything you need to create in any genre. You can shape your ideas into real music fast. Whether you're sketching an idea or finishing a full production, Complete 15 keeps you in the creative flow from first note to final mix. Add your Complete Control keyboard or machine hardware to the mix for seamless integration and hands-on control. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, rock stars. We're back now for the jam session. My guest today is Josh Frigo, joining us here at Ready to Rock Studios.
We're here. We are ready to rock.
Are you ready to jam and rock and whatever? Are you just ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I sort of hinted at it, but let's jump right in. What's this I hear about you making spatial drum samples?
Yes, this is so for anyone who's doing Atmos stuff. This is something that I've put together that I'd love to share. You can just find me on Instagram at junior.frigo. Shoot me a message and I'll shoot you a link. And there's a video on there just for setup. But this is a microarray that was developed by Mark Wendell and Jure Fajnor at University of Huddersfield. They work in I think it's called the Psychoacoustics Research Lab there.
Yeah.
And I met them through a really talented mastering engineer named Crystal Jerez, who also studied at University of Huddersfield. And we actually got a chance to connect at AES in New York last year. And they got to kind of show me some of the stuff they were working on. I was like,
where's Huddersfield?
That it's in the UK. Yeah.
Oh, in the UK. So these are people in the UK that are kind of on the on the brainiac side of getting all this stuff to work. Now, the name Wendell.
Okay.
Do you know the relation to that?
I don't. Tell me.
Drum samples. So the Wendell was the original drum sample.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a player. And I don't know if it's the same name or if it just sounds similar. So I'd be fascinated to find that out.
His is spelled Wendl.
I think it's, I don't remember. I think it might be spelled differently, but it's just funny that there's that connection.
Yeah. They're, such smart folks. And it's really cool to hear what they're doing and to see them like pushing the technology forward and like trying all these new techniques and stuff. But when we were at AES last year at an after party, they got a chance to kind of show me one of the things they developed, which was this 714 microarray that uses just bog standard studio microphones, right? It's stuff that like anyone could have because it's just large diaphragm condenser mics, and you can use which ones you got. And they've done a modification too with a Coles.
You want 7 matching mics usually?
You don't even have to do that, truthfully. Probably that's preferred. The way they had it is they did have some specific ones that were matching, and there's a video that I have on Instagram that can kind of explain all that if you're curious about how to set it up. Because there's a little bit of like legwork you have to do, but it's not hard. But what's so cool about it is that this microarray maps so neatly to your 714 Atmos system. And it's very spatial, so you really hear the time differences across your room. And then on top of that, it folds down beautifully. So if you're folding down to stereo or something, you don't get weird phasiness, you don't get like weird coloration.
Right.
It just like collapses beautifully.
That's super cool.
It's amazing. And so they, that is all their research. I just got to see them. They got to kind of show it to me. And so after that, I was like, you have to tell me more about this because I want to use this because we do Atmos stuff and we're always trying to try, find some new things.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you think I could make drum samples with this? And Mark was like, yeah, we probably could. So I was over at a studio last year and we were doing we had a different session, but I was like, let's throw some mics up and just try this. And so I've got it set up now where we just grabbed like kick and snare samples, and we grabbed a few different kicks and different snares. And I've got basically like the two things that you need to do this is you need Pro Tools and Slate's trigger. Which if you're doing Atmos, there's a good chance you have those two things.
Right.
But what I've got is like you can just grab my Pro Tools session that has the track set up, all the plugins instantiated with the samples loaded in, and you just import it into your session. And then you just send your kick or snare to it. And what it does is for kick or snare, it just sort of like will bloom that kick and snare across the speaker array in such a cool way and really just fill up the space, you know?
So the kick or snare needed to be recorded that way, or it didn't need to be recorded that way?
It did. So we set up that sort of 714 array in a room in a studio here in Nashville and grabbed those samples. And it was probably just like 10 feet, maybe 15 feet back from the kit. And it sort of lives up high. Yeah.
So essentially we can have recorded drums in a regular studio setup.
Correct.
And then that becomes our kick and snare triggers the trigger app.
Yes.
Which is configured through your awesome mix setup.
It's pretty
bloom out like
it's
you're
pretty
about.
Yeah, it's a little janky. It's not it's probably something that could be actually designed from the ground up, more purpose built. So this is definitely like
next up. I guess you know what your homework is.
That I know. I've actually talked about it with a few folks, and it's something that we'll hopefully do. But part of what I'd love to do is have folks try it to see if they like it, because then we'd like, okay, it's worth doing something a little more purpose built.
We can put it all into a folder track too, so it's all
that is
like
it. Yeah,
away.
It is. It'll load up in a folder track, ready to go, and collapsed, so it won't like fill up your session, because there are 13 tracks, whatever, inside of it.
Right, and then can you once you're like, that sounds pretty good, can you actually commit it too?
You could, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's and the way that we use it, it works especially well for singer-songwriter, rock, anything with like acoustic natural drums.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is we're not trying to change the tonality of the existing kick at all. We're trying to actually match it as close as possible. We just want to feel like that kick or snare fills up the rest of the room.
Yeah. But I would go further than that. So, for example, Words, the Alesso and Zara Larsson track that you mix with in Atmos, that one's got the pump and dance beat to it. So it's like electronic kind of programming and stuff like that. And it sounds killer.
Yeah.
And it sounds big.
Yeah.
So somehow you're cracking the code on that in Atmos mixing as well.
Yeah, for a lot of that stuff, I mean, I think it comes back to the same rules as stereo, right? Like the mix is the arrangement and the performance and the recording, and it starts at the top of the signal chain, getting a good performance, a great instrument, putting a good or decent mic in the right spot. It's just another sort of level in that chain, right?
But this felt more like dance beat kind of programs,
right?
Too.
Yeah, and for a lot of that stuff too, I think it's about like being conscious of the way that stuff interacts with each other in the stereo. Right. You don't want to break apart those relationships once you spread stuff apart.
Yeah, because it had the pump. You somehow retained that pump.
Yeah,
quality in an Atmos mix setup, and I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, and so
that seems like that would be a tricky one to do. I mean, you brought up Bob Clearmountain. I know even he was like, went through a lot of, challenging thought process about how to link side chains on compression across all his. Yeah, Atmos beds or whatever. I'm not mixing an Atmos yet, so I'm really coming at it from a listener's perspective.
Yeah, it is, and we definitely, especially because of again our role in the album creation process, we rely pretty heavily on what's getting delivered to us from the mix engineer.
Right, totally.
And so for something like that, I don't remember who the stereo mixer is on that, but. For example, like similarly, when we did a record for Fletcher, and that's coming from Josh Goodwin doing the stereo mix, and like everything that leaves his studio is perfect. Like every stem or multi-track is just like perfect. And we have to match the stereo, so we'll do a null test. Like his nulls are perfect. Like every single thing he's doing is great. And we get that with a whole bunch of different folks. Like we just did, this year we've done stuff for an artist, Flower of Love, who's a UK artist, super amazing. And Mitch McCarthy is the stereo mix engineer on that. His tracks just come in sounding so good. Yeah. And that makes it so easy. And it makes it so that like our job can be just like trying to honor what's already there.
But that's a challenge too. That's what I mean about not screwing it up. Yeah. You know, it's like sometimes our job is to not accidentally put a filter on stuff that we do.
Absolutely. And I think maybe this sort of ties back to when we were talking about MDing, right, and the producer role, that idea of like being flexible and going where the need is rather than what your particular desire is. Because it's like, yeah, it would be fun for us to throw a crazy reverb or delay or spin something around the room, but is that what this person needs from us or wants from us? And same thing if you're MDing or whatever. It's like, okay, we could do, you know, a bunch of band stops and we could do some reharmonization or whatever, but is that helping the artist? Is this serving the artist? Or is that just like for us, the band, right?
Like, do we really need to modulate the last chorus?
Right. Yeah, do we really need to modulate or do we need to like reharm Fishing in the Dark? Probably not, you know? So yeah, I think because of where we're at, like when stuff comes to us, we really depend on those stereo mix engineers and what they send us, and so it makes our job a lot easier when that stuff comes in sounding great.
Can you further describe what it means to reharm? I mean, it's like you don't want to do no harm in the first place.
Right. No.
So what's that reference to? What does that mean?
Just like, you know, it's especially folks talk about this in the jazz world of just taking like an established melody and harmonic sequence and finding a new harmonic sequence to pair with that
so
melody.
It would almost be like, you know, if you pulled the vocal off something, you're putting a new chord progression underneath it.
Yeah, it's got to work still with the existing vocal, right? But how would you reimagine it? And it's, you know, fun to do, but probably not what you should be doing for someone else's original music.
How often is anybody doing a remix and they're using the original vocal that's recognizable, but they're creating an entirely new melody out of it?
Well, like especially in the Atmos world, I'll say, because we do some mixes with dance and EDM folks and DJs, and that is definitely part of the culture, is taking existing stuff. So like a couple years ago we did, I think it was Tiesto did a remix of Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, right? And so that's got the original vocal in there, and then just like a driving beat. So it definitely is happening.
But I mean, would he have kept the original vocal's melody, or would he have actually restructured the melody so that it's an unrecognizable melody now?
It's actually, it's a very recognizable. Yeah, it's definitely.
But I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd be curious, like, you take a John Lennon vocal where it's like, you know the words and the phrasing so well, but you do a completely different melody. It'd be terrible.
It could be.
Maybe that's why nobody's done it.
Yeah, but someone should try. Maybe that can be our project, our group project after this. We'll do it. Make a terrible
all that
John Lennon.
Time after I spent 30 minutes setting up for a video. Hey, rock stars! When it's time to finish your music, iZotope Ozone 12 gives you the powerful new tools to master with confidence. The new bass control helps you balance your low-end EQ, sustain, and punch so that your tracks translate everywhere. Unlimiter restores clarity and impact to overcompressed mixes, and Stem EQ lets you rebalance vocals, drums, and bass using only the stereo mix file. When it's time to push loudness, Ozone's new IRC5 Maximizer delivers clean and powerful competitive masters that stay open and musical. And with an updated mastering assistant that guides, not decides, you can move faster, make better decisions, and stay fully in control from start to finish. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Well, that's awesome. That's exciting. So if the rock stars are curious about the spatial drums, where should they go? Check it out.
Yeah, just go find me on Instagram, junior.frigo, or shoot me an email, hello@joshfrigo.
Okay, cool.
And that's the other thing, too, is I'm always eager to, like, I just love getting to talk with other folks and meet other people and hear their stories. So always eager to connect with somebody new.
And then producing. So that's another thing that's a big part of what you're doing these days.
It's probably the majority of my time.
And we began to talk about that with MD and taking projects in the studios and coming back.
Yeah,
but what else goes into it? Like when an artist approaches you at the beginning of that stage, what does it look and feel like?
It can be different artist to artist depending on what their background is and what they're trying to accomplish. So sometimes they're coming with a fully realized song and maybe even like arrangement ideas. Maybe they have players who they like to work with. Maybe they have a studio they like to work out of. It can be that, or it could be someone who's like got a lyric or just an idea and wants you to help them realize it.
So it's vast enough. It's a wide enough spectrum that it's like you can't have a one-size-fits-all thinking around this.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the way I think about producing, like being a producer, your job is just to be a conduit between the immaterial world of the song and the material world of the record. And you got whatever you need to do to sort of like, like lead it out of the mist and across the river and over the mountain onto ones and zeros or tape or vinyl or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's no wrong way to get there as long as you get to something that someone can listen to at the end.
Now, what are some of the challenges though? So like, let's say if you're doing it for fun, that's one thing, but if you're doing it for work, then you're like, you have business mind challenges where you're like, well, how do I charge for this? What's the rate for this, that, and the other thing?
You tell me.
Yeah, but I mean, do you see examples of that around you?
Absolutely.
Have you had some that have worked great for you or anything? And however you want to share about that, because maybe it's too fast of a question to answer.
No, not at all. I would love to. So there are both creative and sort of financial or business challenges that everyone has to figure out for themselves. And I really think, just like producing, your approach to producing shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all. I think your business approach shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all thing either. And knowing how you work best and what you like to do. So for example, for me, I just know myself of like, once I get into a project, I'm just going to get deep into a project, right?
There's just so many. I mean, because we can't let go. I mean, because like you got to go listen to it again in the car. You got to go proof things. You got to go think. You take notes. Communicate. All of it.
Well, and it just I tend to just like I still love the process. Like it's still. I was telling somebody the other day. It's just like even now, having done it for a while, it still feels like a magic trick every time that I'm doing to myself, right? Like we know how this works, and yet it still is amazing. And so I just know that once we get into a project, I'm going to be thinking about it. I'm going to want to try whatever. I'm going to be obsessed with it. And so for me,
you're going to spend a Saturday messing around with a new plugin and a new synth and a new
guitar
just to explore. Like, would this be right on?
Yeah. 100%. Oh, and I'll go back like, man, like I'm doing this on a record right now where like there was a guitar that we recorded that I'm like, this is great. I really wish we had changed the strings before we re-record this because it's this sort of like pop kind of sounding acoustic guitar thing, and I'm like, the strings were like 5 days old, and so they were new enough, but I really want the sound of like we just put strings on this guitar.
Crisp.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna restring my guitar and re-record that part. Man. So I'm gonna do that. So I know for me, like I can't work by the hour or whatever, right? Because what's gonna happen is I'm gonna end up just doing more work and not charging for it.
Right.
So I know that I have to find a rate, and I just sort of do like an all-in rate that says like, hey, at this rate you get me, and I'm on board, and I'm here start to finish whatever it takes.
Do you feel like the strategy, and I think that's wise, and I've known plenty of people who do that. Do you think that strategy we have to adjust our thinking in terms of, in order to arrive at whether the strategy is working or not working for you, you have to just zoom out a little further. Like you need to do this for a year and then look back at how the year averages out to see if it needs adjustment.
Absolutely.
As opposed to hourly, thinking small bits where you're like, at the end of a week, you'll have a feel for it if you're tracking it.
Yeah. And you got to do that over and over again
Right.
because, of course, like the process will change and the artists you're working with change. So,
And it takes a while to complete a project and a record.
Yeah.
You almost need to zoom out. That's probably partly the answer, right? I love asking questions.
So
right?
you got
to answer it.
Yeah. Do you want me? I can go if you.
But like, you know, like when we do things where the beginning to end can take a year to finish it.
Yeah.
Then how could we can't reflect back on it unless we zoom out a year or bigger to look back on it.
Yeah, I think it's important to do all the time. It's especially important to do as you're like getting started and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because I have tried, you know, all those approaches and tried doing things, you know, whether it's by the hour or as a flat rate, and the sort of process that I've arrived at works for me. It's not for everybody, you know. I've had folks who've reached out and been like, hey, are you interested in doing this? I'm like, yeah, here's what it costs. And like people sometimes are like, that's absurd. I can't believe you charge blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, but here's what it's going to look like, right? So like I have an artist right now who her record actually comes out this week, Roxy Jane. We're dating ourselves, I know, but it's coming out this week. And like we did the whole record. And then on top of that, I go to her live shows, I see how stuff's going, and so I'll go give notes and be like, hey, I love this, like let's touch this up. And then like this last week in prep for the album release show, we put together live arrangements of the recorded stuff. So I went back into our sessions and pulled out things for her players to listen to, and then rewrote a few parts for players to adjust because it's a smaller band. So it's stuff like that where it's like I just know myself and that I'm gonna do more.
Yeah.
And so I have to find the rate for me that lets me just like, here's the rate, and now I can go have fun and just not worry about that.
It's like writing the outline of your business in your year to think more like a salary. Than you know, micro.
Yes.
And then also to your point about like it's not for everybody. Well, yeah, you're right. In other words, you're seeking to put yourself in a position where the people that you're going to work with are also people who are have that mindset as an artist or whatever.
100%.
You know, and then there will be times where we sometimes want to work with. Well, I just need to do a little thing, and you know, and it's your cousin's cousin or whatever. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think like, especially, I think, you know, it is important to be flexible, but to understand what it is like how you enjoy working and what makes the process, enjoyable for you, because the goal is then to like work that way and find other people who also like working that way.
Right.
Well, you'll
and the
do your best
beauty
work
of
that way.
What you're doing is it lets you, you know, in this, like we're all driven by a love for music, right?
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't even be here. You're not listening to this podcast unless you just love making records, right? So that drive to make something great is what pulls us forward. But sometimes in the balancing act of trying to make a living out of it, we can feel like we're letting go. We have to let go of that, and then that doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
it feels better to keep that, you know, that personal quality bar always as high as you want to keep it. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like we've talked about too, like I would tell anybody who's interested in it not to just try and like mimic someone else's path, and to be open to whatever it takes for you to do that and work how you want. Like if I've got artists who like they work a day job or a side job, or I've seen folks who like they only do music and they like, you know, they hustle to make it happen, and they're tired, right? And then like I had an artist who like got a day job and then could just have their day job and then record, and all of a sudden it was like the energy was more, like the songs got better. Right. It was like I think we're told like there's only one way to do it. It's like you can't have a plan B, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, and it's like, who knows, man, right?
You can't do the wrong version. Do the right version, not the wrong version.
Yeah, just do it right.
There you go. How's that?
Yeah, you heard it here. Do it right.
I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's see. What else about production is exciting for you, or
man,
that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I just think like the thing that I love about it is getting to listen to folks, hear their stories. I mean, talking about connecting people with Atmos samples. That is so important to me. And I think that the people that I am lucky enough to work with like working with me because I'm interested in hearing their perspective. And I've had, a lot of artists who end up at my door because they're coming from a producer who had only one way of working and was trying to they're like, this is how I do it, and if that doesn't work for you, then I'm not the right fit. But I'm really interested in I want to yes and every suggestion if possible. Even if it feels wrong, if it feels like I think from an arrangement perspective or a technical perspective that won't work, I'm like, well, let's try it. What's the harm in trying something? And so I feel really fortunate that the people that I get to work with feel comfortable and trust me with that stuff. Because I work with a sort of a wide array of artists. Sparkbird, who's a Baroque pop artist, which is a big sort of cast of players. There's strings and percussion and woodwinds on that stuff. And I think if I were to go in with this mindset of how would what's the commercial appeal of this or whatever it is, right? It's and then start making the vision smaller and smaller, it would just kill all the joy in that music.
Yeah.
So taking that opportunity to kind of let artists be themselves, and even if it feels like maybe this is technically wrong, but there's an interesting idea here or an interesting perspective, and following that, I think it's more. Otherwise, you just make the same record over and over again, right?
Well, and you think about it, and artists that we have grown to love ourselves, sometimes it's music that is, very popularly aligned, and maybe it's lyrically such a concept that oh yeah, anybody could get this. But sometimes it's music that's, not everybody loves, but we love it. And I think about, successful artists too, and they always sort of follow their own style and their own voice and do their own thing. Yeah. And then that rises to the top. And then we look at it as oh, well, of course you were supposed to do that.
Right. It feels inevitable after the fact, but until it happens. And I'm glad you said that they have their own voice, because that's definitely something that I'm looking for with someone I'm working with, is just what can I identify in here that is this person? I can point to that and be oh, that's them. Yeah. More so than having I don't expect anyone to come to me having it all figured out. And we're gonna do this kind of record. It's gonna sound this way, and the rollout campaign is gonna look like this, and the branding looks like this. It's more so just is there an emotion that you're feeling right now that we can hone in on? Is there a creative technique or a performance style that you're trying out that we can focus on and make something that feels identifiable to you? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be identifiable forever too. That's the other thing is I feel artists sometimes feel they have to have the total arc of their career imagined, ready to go, right? How does this fit into whatever else is going to happen? And which is, I think, good to think about. But when someone comes to me, my focus is always what are you feeling right now? And let's just focus on that,
Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. Yeah, well, certainly each record has its own identity.
Yeah.
Or each phase of creation.
Yeah.
But an artist, I think if an artist has got that commitment, I think if they've got consistency and they've got follow through, then the extreme uniqueness of that artist is not an impediment. It's like a highlight.
Right.
It's a feature.
Absolutely.
The fact that they do something different and weird. I mean, like Laurie Anderson pops into my head right now. There's somebody like, Excellent Birds, this weird, bizarre tracks, and I fucking loved it. When I was growing up.
Same.
Or like even King Crimson, or like Adrian Belew, these oddball kind of art rock kind of things.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up in Northwest Indiana, it was a lot of just like hard rock was sort of the only thing that played, and so. But you think of like System of a Down, which is a bizarre, truly bizarre, and but amazing band. Who would have thought that would work? Right. But it totally does.
Yeah, I don't even know the words. I just like
exactly. Right? Yeah.
That stuff sticks with you.
Yes.
Or like Crash Test Dummies when he's like, "That was birthmarked all over, body." Like the super low voice.
Yeah.
Just like these things that identify an artist as the things that make us oddballs are the things that make us interesting too,
Totally.
And finding that within an artist and finding a way to bring that forward. I mean, Post Malone.
Yeah.
That vibrato in there. Imagine if somebody was like trying to, hammer that out of him early on.
Right.
And you can't sing with vibrato. You got to learn how to get rid of that thing,
It's so cool.
Instead of keeping it in there. And now I'm like, how do you even do that?
Yeah. I remember hearing early on, there was like people were questioning, like, is that like a vocal effect or a trick or an auto-tune thing? And it's like, no, he just does it.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that no one told him that was like the wrong thing, because it's awesome. And obviously it's worked for him.
And it's tricky to do it because as a producer, we can find ourselves, not always vibing with every detail of something.
Totally.
And I think we have to remember, where and when do we guide somebody that we're producing away from a thing and towards something else.
Sure.
And where and when do we say, I think I'm just not aligned with that artist. That's not the artist I'm supposed to work for. Maybe they're supposed to work with somebody else.
Totally. I tend to, if we reach an impasse, I tend to defer to the artist because it is ultimately their record, even if I think it's wrong, because no one knows their music and their audience or their story better than them. So if it really comes down to it, that is my policy. I'm curious how you navigate that stuff.
This funny image pops into my head right now. I picture you guys are like you're walking with the artist and you come up to a cliff and there's there's your impasse and you're like, and then you turn to the artist and you're like, yeah, this one's on you, dude. How are we getting over this thing?
Yeah, unfortunately, probably most of the time I'm going to jump with them. That's sort of just my philosophy. Is like once I'm on board, I really want to go. I want to see it to the end as much as possible.
Yeah.
For better or worse, and sometimes for worse.
Right.
But that's part of the fun of it.
Yes. Yeah. Lyrics leap. There
we
go. So another artist that you work with that's in your discography that sounds really beautiful voice is Savs.
Yeah.
So tell us about working with Savs.
She's amazing. She's part of another duo that I produce, MisterMoon, which is her and her friend Leah, who I've done some mixing for as well. They're both incredible. You might have seen them on The Voice this last year.
Right on.
But Savs, I got to produce that song, Tell Me I'm Your Person. I was a co-writer on, and then produced and played a lot of that stuff as well. When people come to me, I tend to do a lot of like, playing the instruments myself on stuff. Mm-hmm. So we had Axel Coe was on drums for that song, and then Collins McLaughlin was on violin, and then I think I played everything else.
And are you a singer as well too?
Not. I mean, I'd like
you are as an artist or not?
No, I mean, I did, like I mentioned early on, I was sort of doing an artist thing. And so I was writing. Like I said, Alex and I were in a band together and we put out a couple records. Yeah. And so I would write and sing on those records.
Cool.
And I still do it. I still I'll do it for me because it's fun.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about when we met at the engineers lunch. You were telling me about.
I mean, you'll never
mountains.
succeed as a singer if you go around punching the mic.
I know, right? I'm just gonna knock this one over and punch this one. But like we connected over mountains and monsters, or monsters and mountains.
Whichever. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh,
yeah.
I shared that with you.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that.
It's still like doing that is such like just part of like keeping the fire going, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, not like by profession.
Are you going to do our next poetry scores? Are you going to join us and write it down?
Please, I would be on there in a heartbeat.
Got taking a note right
I
now.
would love that. That'd be so fun.
Hell yeah, man.
I'll sing. Sometimes I'll sing backing vocals on something if it's required to. I tend to be very careful about putting my voice on someone else's album.
I've been that way too, and then I started allowing myself to do a little bit, and I did it on some stuff, and it turned out fucking great. And then I was like, oh shit, maybe it's just that discovery that we can often have more to offer than we're giving ourselves credit for.
Yeah, no, I definitely, if it feels like it's the right fit for the song and the artist is open to it, I'm happy to do it and like doing it. But yeah, that song in particular was such a great process for me too, because I really felt like I was able to. It was such a great example of what I like to do and how I like to approach production. So, like for example, if you go listen to the song now, the whole song is in this sort of like 3/4 6/8 kind of waltz feel. When Sav brought it to me, it initially was the verses were straight in 4/4, and then moved to 6/8 3/4 in the choruses. And I think she had a verse and a chorus. And no second verse and no bridge, and like getting to like find what was great about that, and like, okay, this is awesome. What does it sound like if we move the verse to the chorus, like waltzing thing, and then let's develop a second verse, let's develop a bridge idea, and working with her in particular, but like a lot of the artists I work with, it's so easy because they're just brilliant. Both Sav and Leah are incredibly brilliant. And so it makes the process easy.
And they're Nashville.
They're here in Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty lucky. Nashville is like, it attracts a lot of really, really talented people.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I feel spoiled. And it was kind of a wake-up call. I sort of mentioned this in when we first chatted, that like I didn't I went to Ball State, which is not like a well-known. It's not a Berkeley. It's not a Belmont or something like that. And so I had a little bit of like a wake-up call when I got here of like, oh man, everyone can really play. Everyone can like they can really. I gotta step it up. And it was like, there was like a whole second post-college education that I had here that was honestly, in many ways, even more valuable than my college education.
Yeah, big time for me. I mean, everything I really learned about music and records, I learned once I landed in Nashville.
Yeah.
Of course, I have been here for a long time at this point. But okay, cool. So another thing you're doing is splice packs?
Yeah, if anyone's just curious, like to hear sort of like my sound or how I approach stuff, I've done a couple of things for Splice, and especially for producers or songwriters who are doing stuff. I just love the idea that something that I recorded or put together might spark an idea with somebody else and like generate a song. So there's 3 that I've done now under the Splice Country label, which they started a couple years ago. This was when Beyonce put out the country record that was so good. And I don't know if you've been on the site or used it at all or are familiar with it.
I haven't really used Splice yet, but I enjoy talking about it on the show.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's one of the things, because of the music that I make and how I like to make stuff, it's not something that I have used a ton of. I don't really use loops in my production or anything like that. I will use like vintage drum machine samples or something.
Yeah.
But it's always, I've seen people who do use it, and it's so cool to see the way that they can grab something and hear it, and then hear something in there and transform it into something else. It's amazing to see. So the opportunity.
So it's almost like making music in your studio, but having access to vast other studios full of instruments is sort of the way it feels a little bit.
Yeah. So when Beyonce put out that record, this was a couple years ago now, that if you went on Splice and you just searched for like country samples, there was basically nothing, right? And they're like, I think they're like, oh, we should probably get some country samples, right? And so an A&R person reached out to me, who's Matt Young, who's been really lovely to work with, and then I connected him with a bunch of other folks here in town. So I've done 3 for them. One is called Silver Dollar Special, one's called Pop Country, one's called Trap Country, and then I'm working on a 4th one right now as well that'll be out probably early next year.
And so if we use Splice, then we just sort of go into the interface, and then you probably search your name or something, and then...
Yeah, if you search any of those pack names, it'll pop up. But it's really fun because essentially I just write a bunch of songs. So I'll write like 15 songs and just arrange them and record them and try stuff and do stuff that you probably couldn't do, that I wouldn't probably do in a recording session with an artist in a studio, where it's like, okay, today I'm going to take the banjo and I'm going to see what happens if I throw it into Melodyne and I drop all the formants and then I run it through a pedal and I do like that would be too cumbersome for a session.
Right.
But I'm on my own time there.
Ooh, that's fun. I like that. It feels a little bit more like a marriage of experimenting and business side of things.
It's really fun. And like on this most recent one, I made a bunch of percussion and drum samples, and there's a video on my Instagram, a brief documentation. Like I recorded a bunch of glass shatters. Have you ever done glass shatters or recorded those before?
I don't think I have, but I do know that people have pointed out to me, like Bill Cheney from Spectra 1964 is going to be on the show again. Spectra prides itself in like incredibly fast transient response in their designs. Yeah. And so he was pointing out that one of the tests for a microphone is to just jingle keys in front of it.
Interesting.
That's such a complex transient.
Any distortion in the mic.
It just will distort. And if you notice on a tambourine, when you record a tambourine, sometimes you...
What's your go-to tambourine mic?
Crunch. I like the Coles a lot.
I do the Coles too.
I do the Coles, and then, we used to do, I don't have an LA2A now, but I know for a while we were doing that and doing LA2A. Yeah. But I mean, again, like a distressor or something like that is great. Yeah. 1176, you can kind of like decide if you want to really crunch down the attack on it or have it poke through more.
Yeah. Well, if you ever do glass shatters, I can tell you a bunch of ways not to do it, because I made a huge mess. But they sound really cool. So a bunch of things like that. Like I'm not going to go shatter glass probably in a recording session. That's probably something for another time. And like a bunch of custom stomps and a bunch of like I made drums out of like bookshelves and tubs and suitcases and like
super fun.
Yeah, and then like pulled those into like a transient designer with like, and then sort of like bringing in a sub frequency to like make it feel like a kick drum.
Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. Is the approach to doing something like that, you typically want to make a song out of these sounds too, because the presentation is often like, here's how that could go together.
Yeah, I think they recommend doing that to have some sort of coherency and consistency among a pack. But the idea really is just to make something that's interesting and get somebody else excited to make a song. Right. And so any way you can make that happen, you're good to go.
Well, I think about, I have like the Machine, I think it's Machine 2 on my iPhone. And that one, as you load samples in, it always comes with a sequence, and then you can just press play.
Right.
You're like, oh, I see somebody's made a tune out of this.
Yeah.
So it does give you an idea, and then some. But at the same time, as a user, I'm like, well, I don't want to do that idea. I want to do my idea. So.
No, and that's the goal. The goal is to give them something that can spark an original thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone wants to hear that and just kind of hear a little bit of another capacity that I work in.
And that's under Josh Frigo?
So you would search for the pack names, either Silver Dollar Special, Pop Country, or Trap Country.
Okay, good.
My name will be typically in the bio for those, but I don't know that it's searchable that way.
Solo projects. How much solo project stuff are you doing now?
I do. I try and always just like have that kind of in the back burner going. Like there's a song that I just finished recently.
And this is stuff you're going to sing on, or do you?
I did sing on it.
Let's close out with that topic, which is one of my favorites. It's like, what's for you a process of finding nuggets of ideas and capturing them, and then taking that nugget and developing it into a song?
Yeah, I feel like it's never something that I can force.
Right.
It always like tends to find you, and it often comes like driving in the car or taking a walk.
How do you hold on to an idea if you're driving in the car?
I will voice memo. I probably shouldn't pick up my phone while driving, but
well, voice memo is like the least invasive way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And also, just another little pro tip, Rockstars, you can just say, "Hey Siri, record voice memo."
There you go.
And
That's
it'll
what I'll
just
do from now
literally
on.
start rolling.
That's
Although in my brain, even having to say that sentence instead of the idea that I want to record is a whoops.
Hey, there we go. It heard you.
Oh no! Get out of here. We don't need a YouTube flag on this.
Oh.
Even that will sometimes like throw me out of the creative thing. So, this is one. So my new iPhone has an extra button on it.
Okay.
And you can customize that button to do anything you want.
Cool.
So you can make that, the moment you hit that button, it just starts a voice memo.
That's fun.
Which to me is more useful than taking an instant photo.
Right. Yeah, same.
For us music people, we're like, photos are great, but I want to be able to like capture an idea as soon as I hear it.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely grabbing it as soon as possible, and a voice memo is super helpful for that.
Yeah.
And again, I think as is the case with all this, like trying to have fun. If you're, maybe you're writing a song about peaches, or you're writing a good song.
Yeah.
Taking time to like sit with it and explore it, and especially for me, songwriting is an opportunity to like explore a little bit of myself, to connect like with connect with myself maybe on a deeper level, or in a way that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. And then also as an opportunity to like share some of myself with other folks too. I always feel like I say, part of like the role of an artist, this is a little crass, I apologize, but the role of an artist a little bit is like, you're sort of like, part of your job is to be vulnerable in some ways, to kind of just be like naked in front of everybody,
totally.
right? And I always feel like if you're a producer, what ends up happening is like, you're the only clothed guy at a party full of naked people, right?
Yeah, in the control room.
Yeah, right. And so I always feel like, especially for producers, or really anyone in the industry, it's important for us to also have those opportunities to be vulnerable, and so that people can kind of see us as well.
I think that's great, man. I think that's a great bit of advice. I've never actually thought about that. So that's the first for me in the podcast is that angle of perspective.
Well, and you're already
that we're doing it for everybody else as a way to say, to make them feel comforted.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a cool. I think that it's that the act of making our own music is also a way for us to put ourselves on the other side of the glass. It's a way for us to better understand the experience of all the people we work with too. Whether it's even just like, well, how damn loud does the click track need to be in the headphones for me to play drums to it? Or whether it's, like, oh man, all those times people were complaining to me about the headphone mix, and I was like, it sounds great in here. Just get used to it. And then you get out there and you're like, well, of course, I'm standing right next to the drums and playing guitar. Of course I need to hear my guitar more, and no drums in the headphones or whatever. Just things like that really help.
Absolutely.
Or the vocalist, Like if you, I'll even say this to Camera Rockstars, If you haven't put on a pair of headphones and listened to your voice when there's latency in the headphones,
Oh my gosh,
to realize that how unusable that is, then you have to do that, because you can't ask an artist to sing into headphones when it sounds shitty.
Yeah.
And expect them to perform well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, anything you can do to make them be able to just sort of like forget all that stuff and just perform at their best is huge.
Okay, so then you capture this idea of a nugget of an idea, and to your point, like we have to write, this has to be intentional, I think. We have to actually put intentional time into our schedule to go back and revisit ideas that we've captured and started, so that we explore them a little further, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it should be something that's incorporated into your sort of professional routine, because the business is so strange, because it's such a personal business and it's such an intimate business. You know, taking time to like explore a little bit of maybe what you're feeling or what you're interested in has such, I think, profound long-term knock-on effects for everything else you're doing.
Yeah.
And it is maybe counterintuitive, but yeah, taking the time to work on something for yourself or work on yourself, whatever, makes all the other work that much better.
Yeah. That's great, man. Yeah. I like that. And then what about the recording process? Are you willing to play all the instruments yourself, or do you prefer to interact? What are your thoughts about that?
It's really about whatever's going to like make the song the best and make the artist feel the most inspired.
We're talking about your solo thing now.
Oh, so I'll play a lot of stuff.
Enough about those other people.
Okay. Me. No, I will play a lot of stuff. I love working with other folks, and so I will definitely bring on. So like on my solo thing again, like on Sav's song, I had Axel Coe was on drums and Collins McLaughlin was on violin, and I had a friend of mine, Isaac Buna, who's a great songwriter and producer, just like do some additional production and just throw some stuff around.
Of course, Isaac is with a name like Isaac Buna.
Yeah. And my buddy John Class, who's an incredible producer and mixer here in town, he and I started the production for that song together, and just like, got together and shot the shit in the studio and just goofed off.
Yeah.
And like, but then came up with like a really great sort of like direction for me to take it in. So I definitely, that's an opportunity for me to be collaborative for fun.
So when you collaborate with people, what's a first conversation? Is it like, hey, this is a co-write?
It could be.
Or like, what are some ways to think about that? I mean, I guess if it's close enough friends, we just don't always ask.
Yeah, no, but that's a great point, though, because like communication early on in the process can be really helpful and help sort of like mitigate some problems down the road. So I think, and especially in that capacity, just asking, reaching out to someone to be like, hey, like, are you interested in this? I know we're friends, but you don't have to work on this if you don't want to. Do you have time? And I really appreciate if someone says, no, actually, I don't have time, or because I want them to be taking care of themselves as well. Yeah. So I'll say like, hey, would you be interested in this? And I try and always just be as like transparent and clear as possible. So if I'm initiating something, I'm going to put in that first text or phone call my proposal for what it is. Like, hey, let's get together and work on this song, and we'll split publishing, or like I'll pay you X and we'll do it in this time. And I try and like right away, let's just get that out of the way and just establish what this is going to look like, and then we can go have fun.
Yeah, take it. I think it's smart, and you know, I have my experience with that is more like with the poetry scores stuff. I do it with my friends. I just set a precedent. It's like, all right, just so everybody knows. Just to make this really easy.
Yep.
Everything we do, if you're part of it, it's just co-share on everything, because it makes it like.
Yeah, and just sort of
it's not exactly equitable, because I always do most of the work on it. But
well, and it never is, right? Like that's the whole. There's no part of this that it never is actually. Like someone's got to do more sometimes, someone else does more the other time, and that's just how it goes. But I'm so glad that you do that, because it is like just having that established so that folks know what capacity we're working in makes the whole process easy and fun. And every like issue I've ever encountered in the business has always just been poor communication at some point, right? Yeah. Someone didn't communicate what they thought or what their expectations were. So
most of the problems I've created in my life are me not communicating well.
Yeah. Also, now we're just going to go to like therapy mode and just talk about communication is important. Yeah.
And on that note, here's this question that I love to ask all my guests. We get to go back in time and you find young Josh.
Okay.
And you say, listen, dude, that Yamaha guitar is pretty nice and all, but here's the single most, I've come back to give you this one bit of advice. Here's the single most important thing that you really need to know to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day. What advice would you go back and give yourself if you could?
Yeah, I think I was always very concerned and like eager to do things right and to do them great, like do them well. And I think I would just go back and say like, don't be so worried about making a mistake.
Yeah.
In fact, make some mistakes. Like some of the most interesting things you're going to do and the best lessons you're going to learn are going to be from making a mistake. I think that'd be, the first thing I'd say. Except
do try and be in record.
Right. Yeah. We learn from those mistakes for sure.
Yeah. Let's make creative mistakes. Let's be in record so we can make creative mistakes.
Absolutely.
Because when you capture those mistakes, you're going to realize they were the golden nuggets.
Yeah. You want to learn from them for sure.
And I guess not being in record is the golden nugget too, but the problem is you weren't in record. So then you're just in your mind, you've decided that was the golden nugget.
Right.
You didn't record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always the one you didn't capture. That was the one.
Awesome, dude. Well, it's a blast to have you here hanging on the show with us, man. Really great. Thank you for coming. Let the rock stars know, how can they find you now?
Yeah.
Where would you remind them where to go check out your website, your splice packs, your sample packs, all of it?
Yep. So you can find me. Instagram is probably the one social media I do. So junior.frigo, I'm there. Website is joshfrigo.com. Emails hello@joshfrigo.com. And say hi. I always want to meet new folks. If you are interested in making a record together, or you want to get these spatial drum samples, they're free for whoever wants them. And I'd love for people to try them and tell me what they like, what they don't like.
That's awesome.
Just hear some stories.
That's awesome. And it's Frigo, Rockstars.
And
then if you enjoyed watching this, thank you for hanging with us, Rockstars. If you're listening, just know that we're on video now, so come on over to, it's currently YouTube. Who knows what it will be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And you can check out the video as well and see our smiling faces and see the studio and all that kind of stuff. And then if you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe too, so that you can get more of these videos from us. And drop a comment in too and let us know, for you, what do you want to ask the rock stars to... What answer would you like about maybe the songwriting process?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear what maybe what folks are excited about. If that's a new song or a technique or what's the thing that you're thinking about now that because I feel like I always am still, you never figure it out. You're always still learning. So I'm always eager to be hey, what do you know? What sort of trick can you tell me or approach can you tell me that I can sort of pick up and adopt for myself?
Yeah. Awesome. And I love that. So with those parting words, thank you for watching, dude.
Thank you, Lidge.
For being here.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you around the studio.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lidge Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who make this episode possible. Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, Grace Design, and Picker. And remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off any plugin purchase at isotope.com or nativeinstruments.com. And don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. If you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors using the links in the show notes below. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because it's a great way to help support this show. And I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars, Vlad Weselchenko, Daria Tupesis, and Max Young. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.